Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well. Today I'm going to talk about servant leadership. So, what is servant leadership? Servant leadership was created in 1970 by Robert Greenleaf under the idea that the main goal of a leader is to serve the communities and people that they represent. So, how this is different from other types of leaders is that while others may aim for power and control, servant leaders are really there for the community and they put others' needs before their own at all times. So, a main pillar of servant leadership is to promote, quote, service. So, giving back within their own communities in which they're surrounded by. And servant leadership is based on legitimate power and not powers of coercion or forced participation. So, they became leaders by the will of the people. They were voted in fairly, they weren't promoted unfairly, but so no manipulative tactics, but they got there through fair and legitimate power. So I think those are all really big ideas that separate a servant leader versus many leaders that we see today. So there are 10 characteristics of a servant leader. Um, the two first characteristics are listening and empathy. Being able to listen and empathize with others help to better understand other people's intentions and perspectives. Healing discusses emotional wealth and wholeness of people and the ability to support individuals both physically and mentally. And it also discusses being able to support individuals with knowledge, support, and resources. So, as a leader, I think these first three characteristics are very important and kind of the core of servant leadership. It's really being able to connect with those that you serve through being able to first listen, hear them, empathize with them, and then you as a servant leader being the one to be able to give them resources and see the whole person and support them. Next is awareness or self awareness, and that's the ability to look internally and think about emotions and behavior and how that affects the people around you. So, that can also, if we're discussing a leader in a company or say a government, that's seeing how your organization affects those around you as well. Persuasion is used to encourage other people to take action rather than using authority. So instead of using, as we discussed earlier, manipulation or coercion, persuasion is using your own thoughts and feelings to get what you want done. Conceptualization is the characteristic of making your dreams a reality and to take day-to-day realities and make them big picture ideas. So taking a small idea or grassroots organization and make it whatever you want it to be. Foresight is what happens, being able to predict what happens in the future. It can help servant leaders identify and understand their decisions that they need to make later on. Stewardship is taking responsibility for both your actions and performance of your team and be accountable for the role individuals within your organization play. So, not being just responsible for yourself, but everyone that is associated with you, pretty much. And the last two characteristics commit leaders to help develop and build up the communities that they're leaders of. So, not just helping to create a community, but really committing to helping and bettering the community as well. So this is just a little quick comparison of visual representation of what a traditional leader looks like versus a servant leader. So as you can see, a servant leader uses their influence to serve others, as we previously stated, share their knowledge, and use their success to better others, while traditional leaders tend to use their power to better themselves or their companies. And I think a big thing that this chart shows is that traditional leaders speak while servant leaders listen. So it really speaks to the idea that servant leaders are there for the people. You're not there to talk to the people, you're there to listen to them. And traditional leaders use power and control to drive performance, while servant leaders share power and control to drive engagement. I think that is also so important because it shows the difference in the power dynamics as well. So, the prompt I was given is to identify and describe aspects of a servant leader you may know at a personal level or a person you admire. How might you go about emulating this person's attributes when tasked to address the topic of bullying in the elementary school where you provide OT services? So, first, I just wanted to share some servant leaders in history that many people are familiar of before I share the person I admire. So, some historical examples of servant leaders are Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela. So, Martin Luther King Jr. used his power and his voice to try and better not only his individual community, but the country as a whole. He fought for what he believed was right. He fought for the civil rights movement, and I think today we can even see how far that message is still trying to be spread. So, he didn't do it for himself. He didn't do it for just his own personal gain, but for the betterment of his community. And Nelson Mandela used his influence to fight for the anti apartheid. And when he won the presidency after, um, when he was elected president, he specifically announced himself as a servant for the people and focused on the importance of community building and empowerment for social change. So, my example of who I admire as a servant leader is Hamza Ulukaya. So he is the founder of Chobani Yogurt. Um, he immigrated to the United States and started Chobani with what he calls an anti-CEO motto. And he put forth the idea to go search for communities that you can be a part of, ask permission, and succeed together. So this anti-CEO motto is the idea is not to make money, but to invest in people and your community. So he really valued those ideas, and I truly believe he has the characteristics of a servant leader. He conceptualized his idea of Chobani yogurt. He put a plan in motion to how he was going to help his workers, and he has stuck with that plan ever since. Even when sometimes the government has come down on him for who he chooses to support in his community, and he is committed to his business and to building the community around him. So let's get into it a little bit. He had committed to making sure all of his workers were paid above minimum wage. He gave away 10% of company equity to all of his workers. He employs over 400 refugees from a variety of different countries, and when he found out that Rhode Island students were only given like a small peanut butter and jelly sandwich if they had outstanding student lunch debt that and were not being fed enough nutritional value that they deserved. He paid off all of Rhode Island's school lunch debt in order to see that that was not happening anymore. Um, so he really stood by the values that he came and founded his country with, and he listened to his workers, and when they asked for paid leave, family leave, he granted it to his workers. Not only mother's paid leave, but he also got father paid leave and paid leave for families of all types, including adopted parents. So he's really someone I admire as a servant leader, and I think he is really there to serve the people. So some ideas to really bring forth community and address bullying in elementary schools. So we will be using his principles that I found through servant leadership to address bullying in elementary schools. So a big message I got through his leadership style is investing within your community. So I truly believe a big way to address bullying is to foster the idea of community and how we can make it more inclusive of everyone and hear everyone's ideas. So as an OT, I would create a program for students on inclusive measures to build a positive environment for learning and open communication. So this would be a overarching program for the entire school, which is obviously the first step in bullying prevention. So, this would help students to learn more about bullying and why being a positive member of your community is important. As a considerate leader, I believe that opening a line of communication, especially amongst younger individuals, is crucial. If you want everyone to feel comfortable, open up, speak up, and use their voice. Studies show that students with a greater social emotional learning capacity are less likely to be aggressors, targets of bullying, and bystanders. So by addressing this and creating an open community forum where people feel like they do feel included and there's open communication, it will create a better environment for everyone involved. And I think that addressing it as it happens is not enough, and you have to invest in preventing bullying. So, speaking to administration and teachers to see what changes can be made, such as where does bullying most occur? Is it on the playground? Is it in the classroom? And seeing what occurs then is the most important thing. So, change at the community level is most important. And creating an open dialogue between students and teachers will build that trust so that children really feel like they can create an open community and hopefully will reduce bullying. So my second idea was a community corner. So unfortunately, even with an open kind of community and fostering that kind of inclusivity, bullying will occur. So my second solution would be to mitigate the effects of bullying if and when they occur and to continue to promote a positive community. So issues with bullying will arise, and I think a lot of times we find with conflict resolution, if you can talk it out, maybe it won't escalate. So, creating a location within the school to have individuals involved discuss what is happening. Learning to end conflicts and discuss with peers about your emotions attached to it, why it happened, what happened is very important. Um, and it would be a space where one adult individual would be with the children to discuss. A lot of times, especially in elementary school, bullying occurs because someone felt left out or indirect bullying. So I think maybe more issues could be resolved face to face. And learning how to end conflict, especially in early age, helps to promote conflict resolution early on and helps individuals learn how to discuss their feelings. It also promotes lessons against bullying. If you have to discuss it and why it happened, you're less likely to do it, and awareness of your actions. So maybe if you were not aware that something was happening, you would be more aware of it later on. So, though this does not directly stop bullying, having discussed it afterwards would promote group interaction and resolution. Um, so, these are my references, and thank you so much.